The morning sun barely filtered through the cracked windows of Jefferson High's aging classroom when a nervous buzz filled the air. It was the first day of the new term, and all eyes were glued to the doorway, waiting for the arrival of the new teacher. Whispers of skepticism and doubt floated around like a thick fog. Students had already heard stories about this teacher, Mr. Robert Crane, the stranger who was to replace the beloved but retired Mr. Jensen. Rumors had spread that Mr. Crane was strict, uncompromising, and unyielding, and as usual, the bullies of the school, led by the infamous Jason and his gang, were eager to assert their power and set the tone. When Mr. Crane stepped inside, there was an immediate hush, but it was quickly replaced by a low murmur of disrespectful laughter and snickers. He was middle-aged, tall but unassuming, with sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His shirt, simple and neatly tucked in, gave no hint of the storm about to unfold. "Good morning, class," Mr. Crane began, his voice calm but firm. "Let's start with roll call." The bullies exchanged sly glances. Jason, the leader, was already sizing him up, searching for weakness to exploit. As the roll call progressed, Jason's whispers grew louder until, with a sudden cruel shove, he grabbed the teacher's shirt front and tore it with a sickening rip. The classroom gasped. Some students froze in shock while others watched, fascinated by the bold disrespect. Mr. Crane didn't flinch. His eyes locked onto Jason's with a cold intensity that silenced the room. "You've made a mistake," he said quietly, voice barely above a whisper but carrying the weight of a thunderstorm. Jason laughed, stepping back, emboldened by the stunned silence and the jeers from his gang. "What are you going to do about it, old man?" he taunted. But Mr. Crane didn't react immediately. Instead, he reached into his desk and pulled out a small, worn book, a book that looked nothing like a weapon, but held a power far more formidable. Slowly he opened it and began to speak, his voice steady and commanding. What followed was a lesson none of the students had expected. A lesson not just about respect or discipline, but about empathy, strength, and the hidden battles that everyone carries. Minutes later, something had shifted. The bully's bravado faded like shadows at dawn. Jason's confident sneer crumbled into something unrecognizable. The classroom, once filled with defiance, was now heavy with an awkward silence. Mr. Crane walked calmly to Jason, extended his hand and said, "You owe me more than an apology. You owe yourself the chance to be better." Jason, the toughest kid in school, dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face, begging for forgiveness. The rest of the class looked on, stunned but silently cheering, realizing they had witnessed something extraordinary, the power of courage and kindness in the face of cruelty. As the bell rang signaling the end of the period, Mr. Crane's eyes swept the room one last time. "Remember," he said softly, "every act of respect starts with one person standing up for what's right." And with that, a new chapter began. Not just for the students of Jefferson High, but for anyone who's ever felt powerless against the bullies in their own lives. If you want to see more stories of real courage and heart, hit that subscribe button and join our community, because here every story inspires and every voice matters. The classroom was still wrapped in an uneasy silence as the bell's echo faded into the empty halls of Jefferson High. Jason knelt there, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs, the weight of his pride and anger crushed beneath a sudden, unfamiliar emotion, remorse. Around him, the students who had moments before been laughing or sneering now exchanged glances filled with a mix of surprise and tentative hope. Mr. Crane stood calmly by his desk, a quiet pillar of strength and patience, waiting until the storm inside the room had settled enough for words to heal wounds deeper than torn fabric. "Get up, Jason," Mr. Crane said softly, his voice firm but kind. "You've taken the first step. Now let's talk about why this happened." The bully's eyes lifted, red-rimmed and vulnerable, and he slowly stood, hesitant but willing. For the first time, the mask of invincibility slipped away, revealing a scared kid beneath, a kid drowning in anger, loneliness, and a desperate need to be noticed. I didn't mean to make it personal," Jason whispered, voice cracking. "It's just, I don't want people to think I'm weak. Around here, you show strength by breaking others down." The confession hung in the air like a fragile thread. The room held its breath, waiting for the next move. Would this moment lead to deeper destruction, or a chance to rebuild? Mr. Crane stepped forward, his eyes gentle but resolute. "Strength isn't about tearing others down, Jason. It's about rising up when it's hardest to do so. It's about standing up for what's right even when you're afraid. You've been fighting battles no one sees. But that doesn't give you permission to hurt others. Instead, it gives you a chance to find a better way. The class was silent, absorbing the truth in those words. For many, it was the first time they saw Jason not as a menace, but as a person trapped by his own fears. A ripple of empathy spread, softening hardened hearts. Over the next days and weeks, something remarkable began to happen. The walls of Jefferson High, long scarred by years of bullying and disrespect, started to crack, letting in the light of change. Jason, once the terror of the hallways, began showing signs of transformation. With Mr. Crane's guidance, he attended counseling, joined peer support groups, and learned to channel his energy into leadership rather than intimidation. The other students followed suit, inspired by the unexpected change. The bullies who had once ruled the school with cruelty now looked for ways to build rather than break. A culture of respect began to take root not through fear, but through understanding and courage. One afternoon during a school assembly, Jason stood before the entire student body, no longer the villain but a voice of redemption. "I was wrong," he admitted, his voice steady. "I hurt people because I was scared and didn't know how to ask for help. But Mr. Crane showed me that real strength comes from kindness and owning your mistakes. If I can change, anyone can." The crowd erupted in applause, genuine, heartfelt. It was a moment none would forget, the day when a bully became a leader, and a teacher's courage transformed an entire school. And Mr. Crane? He continued teaching with the same calm authority, his torn shirt a symbol of the battle fought and won. But he knew the real victory wasn't in discipline. It was in inspiring hope and respect where there was once only fear. To all watching this story unfold, remember, change is possible when we dare to confront cruelty with courage and lead with compassion. If you believe in the power of transformation, in standing up for what's right no matter the cost, then please subscribe to this channel. Join us for more stories that remind us all how one person's courage can change a community, a life, even the world. Because here every voice matters, and every story has the power to inspire. The transformation that had begun in that small, bruised classroom at Jefferson High blossomed into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. Jason wasn't the only one changed. Mr. Crane's courage and compassion had sparked a movement. It began with whispered conversations in hallways and quiet apologies, shared between students, but soon grew into a school-wide initiative that challenged the very culture of bullying that had once ruled unchecked. With Jason leading the charge, the students formed what they called the Respect Revolution, a student-led group dedicated to creating a safe, supportive environment for everyone. Meetings filled with laughter and genuine connection replaced the harsh taunts and whispered threats that had long been a dark cloud over Jefferson High. Teachers joined in. Parents got involved, and slowly, the school became a beacon of hope in a community desperate for change. Jason stood at the front of a packed auditorium, nerves buzzing through his veins. It was the night of the Respect Revolution's first big event, a celebration of courage, kindness, and second chances. Faces that once avoided him now looked up to him with admiration and respect. But this night was about more than Jason's story. It was about every student who had ever felt powerless, lost, or alone. As the spotlight shone on him, Jason spoke with a sincerity that cut through the noise. "I want to thank Mr. Crane," he said, voice steady and full of gratitude. "He didn't just teach us math or science, he taught us how to be human, how to be brave, enough to say sorry, and strong enough to forgive. That day when I tore his shirt, it was the day my life changed forever." The crowd erupted into applause, but it was the moment that followed that truly defined the night. Mr. Crane took the stage beside Jason, his eyes twinkling with pride. "No one is beyond hope," he said quietly. "Every one of us deserves a chance to start over, to make things right. And that starts with a choice to be better, to lift others up, and to believe in the power of change." The evening ended with students and teachers joining hands, a living symbol of unity and healing. The scars of the past didn't vanish overnight, but in their place grew trust, empathy, and a shared commitment to protect one another. In the days that followed, Jefferson High continued to evolve. The story of the torn shirt became a legend, an emblem of courage that inspired not just students, but the entire community. Jason's journey from bully to leader reminded everyone that even in the darkest moments, there is light waiting to break through. To all of you watching this story unfold, remember, forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the greatest strength of all. When we dare to show kindness where others expect cruelty, we become the change we wish to see. If this story moved you, inspired you, or gave you hope, please subscribe to the channel. Join a community where real stories of courage and transformation are celebrated, and where your voice can be part of something bigger. Because here, every tear, every apology, and every act of courage matters, and together we can rewrite the story of bullying into one of healing and hope. Months passed, and the spirit of change at Jefferson High only grew stronger. Jason wasn't just a leader. He had become a symbol of what happens when people choose courage over fear. The respect revolution spread beyond the school walls, inspiring other schools and communities to stand against bullying. Teachers and students worked together to create programs teaching empathy, communication, and kindness. Mr. Crane's torn shirt was framed and hung in the school hallway, a reminder of that pivotal moment when cruelty met compassion. But more importantly, it symbolized hope, resilience, and the power of forgiveness. One afternoon, Jason found himself mentoring a younger student, someone who reminded him of his former self, lost, angry, and scared. As he offered a hand of friendship, Jason realized that true strength wasn't just about changing yourself, but about helping others find their way too. If you've been inspired by this journey of transformation and courage, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll share more stories that prove change is possible, one brave step at a time.